So a lot of that looks familiar. There's a reason. It's not on accident. The reason we did last chapter before we did this chapter was because we used a lot of these steps, right? A lot of these steps we used, same thing on your down here, right? That we've used before. Now we're not doing the same thing. It's not review. It's new stuff, but we just use some of the same steps. Okay. Okay. So factoring. Factoring is a big word. You've seen that many, 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 many times. Homeworks, notes, tests, quizzes. You've seen that a lot. Okay. Factoring means factoring means one of two things. It either means GCFs or playing this game here, A, B, C, multiply A times C, what adds up to be B, and then that's factoring. Okay. That's what we do factor. So we're going to do that today. We are going to do that today. So first thing we do though, first new thing though, is something called difference of squares. Difference of squares. It's called difference of squares because difference in math, what does difference mean? Subtraction, right? Subtraction. And if you look here, you got a subtraction symbol in the middle, right? And then squares means when I square something, what does that mean? Multiply it by the same number. 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, right? So if I have both of these are squares, right? And it's a subtraction symbol, it's called difference of squares. It's kind of a shortcut. It only works sometimes. It doesn't work all the time. It has to be a binomial, 2 terms, right? Okay. So I got an example here. So how do we know if it's difference of squares? Well, if I square something, will it give me x squared? What times itself makes x squared? X, right? X times itself. That's what it means, right? How about 9? Is something times itself make 9? If that happens and there's a subtraction sign in the middle, we have difference of squares. Okay, so what does that mean? That means we can use this shortcut. We can use this one here. So a plus b, so we're going to have a plus here and a minus here. So the first term is x, the second term is 3. Because x times itself made x squared, 3 times itself made 9. So that's why we have a 3 here and a 3 here. And then we have an x here and an x here. Okay, so when you're looking, this number here can only be a certain number. What are the other numbers it could be? Besides 9 works because it's 3 times 3, right? What other number could it be?
9 times 1.
Has to be the same number. Perfect squares. I'm talking about the perfect squares. Well, what is 9? How do I make 9 again? 3 times 3? So follow the pattern. What's another one? What's another perfect square? Has to be a number times itself. So it would still be 9. Okay. So anything else besides 9? Nothing else? Follow the pattern. Has to be at times itself. I'm not looking here no more. I think you guys are looking here. I'm done with this one. What about here? Okay, so 2 times 2. What does that make? 4. What does that make? What about, keep going. Follow the pattern. There you go. What does that make? 5 times 5 makes. Okay, so now let me stop writing that. Let me write these. What's the next one going to be? Which is? What's the next one going to be? Which is? Good. Keep it going. What's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? 10 times 10, right? And then it keeps going forever and ever and ever. I'm going to stop right there because I don't want to write. These are the numbers we're looking for. These are the numbers that are called perfect squares. They're called perfect squares because yeah, if I square a number, I get them. Right? If I square a number, I get them. So those are the numbers in green I'm looking for. So that's what I saw a 9 here, right? That's why I was able to do it. How about this one here, the next one? Do you see anything here that is on this list? 81 is one of them, right? And what's the other one? 25, right? So what times itself would make this guy here, 25? And then what times itself makes x squared, right? 5 times 5 makes 25. X times x makes x squared. How about 81? Okay. So since that's true, I can factor it like this. 5x plus 9, 5x minus 9. Difference of squares. Now our goal today is to find those. Problem is they're hidden. Okay, so we have to look closely. Okay, so anytime we find those, we can use this little rule here, this little difference of squares. Okay, remember though, it has to be a subtraction in between them. It can't be addition. So if I see something like this, I can't use it, even though 4 times 4 makes 16. This one right here won't work because it's not subtraction. It has to be difference of squares. There's no such thing as addition of squares or sum of squares. Okay? All right, so really that's the new stuff. If you look at all of this stuff here, set equation equal to 0, standard form, GCF, difference of squares. Okay, so see the difference of squares here? That's number 3. Look at it. There's 2 number 3s. There was a typo. So cross out the first number 3. That was a typo. That shouldn't have been there. It just, for some reason, it got cut and pasted. So cross that one out. That's not a, it should match the ones we have up here. Okay. Difference of squares is on there, but it should be at the bottom. And it is already at the bottom. Okay. What are binomials? How many terms does a binomial have? 2, right? So if it has 2 terms, we use this box up here. Trinomial, how many terms does trinomial have? 3 terms. If it has 3 terms, we use these steps here. If it has 4 terms, we'll do that on Friday. So only today, 2 and 3 terms is all we're looking at today. Okay, we could do it tomorrow. I have something else planned tomorrow. We could do tomorrow. Yeah, well, we could. Okay. Okay, so let's look at these guys here. Let's look at the example number 2 now inside, on the inside. Okay. Okay, so trinomial or binomial? 3 terms or 2 terms? Trinomial. Good. That's our first step. Is it a trinomial or binomial? So we know what steps to use. So we're going to be those steps on the right. The last bottom steps, the ones with the most steps. Okay. First step is set it equal to 0 and make sure it's in standard form. Well, there is no equation here. So, okay. Is it in standard form though? Does it go from highest power to lowest power? Start with the 4th, then go to the 2nd, and then go to nothing. So it is in order. So we're good there. Next step is GCF. Is there anything I can divide them all by? Positive or negative? Number or letter? No, right? Besides 1? Skip that step. Is the leading, make sure the leading term is in the front, right? If I'm leading the race, I'm in the front. Make sure that's positive. Is that guy positive? Yes. Okay, skip that step. Now ABC. What is ABC? B is C is? Good. So now I'm going to do the steps that I did last chapter. I'm going to multiply A times C, which makes negative 15. So what multiplies to be 15 and adds to be 2? You know the answer? Or you have a question?
Well, after a question.
Okay, what's your question?
What about the exponents that are with the numbers?
No, A, B, and C are only the numbers in front. Just like last chapter, A, B, and C are the numbers in front.
So the exponents won't interfere with any of that?
Not like they did last semester, like they did last chapter, right? Okay, yeah. Yep, 5 negative 2. Is that what you're going to say, Zach?
Yeah.
Yep. You were ready. Okay, so those are our winning numbers. So we move them over here. So I'm going to have a plus 5, and I'm going to have a minus 3, right? I think, Bennett, I think this is what you were talking about. The powers are different, right? It's not squared anymore. Squared used to be the top power. And then that used to be no power, right? So because of that, instead of just x and x, we got to put x squared now. Okay? So in front of the plus 5 is going to go an x squared. And in front of the minus 3 is going to go an x squared. Okay? Because the powers are bigger now than they were last chapter. Right? Yeah, we're going to do difference of squares at the end. Yeah, we'll still.
But not when we do the quadratic formula, it's only all factors.
Yes, difference of squares is only a factoring thing. Okay. So, so the reason why we have to have x squared and not regular x is because when we multiply this, it has to make to the 4th power. And x squared times x squared makes x to the 4th power. Okay, so we need, last chapter, this was x squared. And this didn't have an x, right? So it's different. Okay. Okay, so now bottoms up. Bottoms up, what do we divide by? It's not going to change anything, right? I'm going to put it in the notes just in case because it's the notes, but yeah, it doesn't change anything. Still a plus 5 and still a minus 3. Okay. Last step, difference of squares. So are either of these two guys difference of squares? This one can't be. Why cannot the first one be? Because it has a plus. Yeah, it has a plus here. It doesn't have a difference. So this guy, we're done with. We're going to keep it, but there's no chance of this being difference of squares. So now let's focus on this guy here. It's difference, right? Is there a number that I could square that would make 3 as an answer? 1 times 1 makes 1. That's not 3. 2 times 2 makes 4. That's not 3. 3 times 3 makes 9. That's not 3. It's not on my list, right? The list I created earlier in green. We skip 3. So it's not difference of squares. So if it's not difference of squares, I'm done because I'm at the bottom. No more steps. That's exactly what you would put in the answer box. Exactly like that. When I'm grading some of your tests, some of you guys do you guys do everything correct on paper, but then when you enter it, it looks different. Don't make it look different. Whatever your answer is, exactly the same. Okay? I give you full credit, but on the test, but on an assignment, if you don't put this in the way it is, they're going to make you do another problem. Okay? So just make sure you put it in the same way. Okay? Because you got it right, so might as well get credit for it. All right, let's go to example number 3 now.
Can a variable like x be at least cf?
Yep, because x is a number, right? We just don't know what number it is. Okay, so step one, no equal sign, but it's not in standard form yet. So I have to move the x to the 5th. Right here, I got to move this guy to the front. It's got to be in the lead. X to the fifth. Everything else stays the same. Everything else keeps the symbol. Nothing else changes. The symbol does not change. It's still a minus 7x cubed and a plus 6x. Okay? That step done. Next step, GCF. GCF, they all share an x in common, right? X is a number. That can be a GCF, absolutely. So when I divide them by x, they lose a power. They lose a power. Each one of them loses a power. So it's going to be x to the fourth minus 7x squared plus a regular 6. Okay? When you're doing your notes, don't wait for me to do the next step. Some of you guys are doing, do that, please, right? Don't wait for me. If you know what the next step is, go for it. When you hit a roadblock, then you can look up. So if you're just going for it, don't worry about me. Okay? If you're writing stuff down, I know you guys are just doing the next step on your own. Okay? And then you can pick your head up every once in a while to check to see if you're doing it right. Okay? Multiply a times c. So now I'm in here now. ABC. ABC. A is 1, B negative 7, C is 6, so the numbers, anybody who's already done it, you got that? What is it? Okay, thank you. So those are the big winners. Move it back. We got a minus 6 and a minus 1. Okay. These are parentheses. They don't look like parentheses, but they are. All right. We got that. Bottoms up. Divide by 1. It's not going to change anything. Last step. Are any of these guys here difference of squares?
No.
Well, let's go through the first one. Well, let's go to the first one. X, nope. X minus 6, that's difference, but it was 6 on my list. No, 6 wasn't on my list, right? I skipped 6. 1, 4, 9, 16. This wasn't, so I skipped this guy too. How about this guy here? Was 1 on my list? It was the first number, right? So this guy is difference of squares. So it's going to reduce to what? Or it's going to simplify to be what? X plus 1. And what else? X minus 1. Good. Yep. Everything else that wasn't difference of squares just comes along, comes straight down. Now I am done. There's my answer box. I put it exactly like that into my answer box. Parentheses and everything. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so now let's take a look at number 4. Okay, we're good on time. Number 4. Binomial or trinomial? 2 terms, binomial. So we're going to follow the shorter steps now. The shorter steps. Okay. So the shorter steps say 1, make sure it's in standard form and make sure it's equal to 0. So is it the powers in the correct order? Yes, they are. Biggest and then smallest. All right. Okay, next one says GCF. Factor out a GCF. 4, yeah, 4 and a z, right? Because they can all have a z and they all can be divided by 4. How many powers of z can we take away from both of them? 3, right? We can take away 3 from this guy, and we can take away 3 from this guy. 4 I can't, because the second one doesn't have 4. You take away the most that you can from everyone, but you got to take away the same. Okay, so we got a 4z to the third power on the outside. So when I divide 4 by 4, I get 1. I take away 3 powers. How many am I left with? Good. Minus 4 goes into 64 16 times. If I take away 3 powers, how many powers of z does it have left? Doesn't have any powers, yeah. Alrighty. The next step. Difference of squares. Is this guy difference of squares? Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. Right? It's going to break down to be z plus something and z minus something. What is that plus and minus going to be? 4. Yeah, because 4 times 4 makes 16. Good. Done. That goes in my answer box. Okay. So the next one's also a binomial. Number 5 is a binomial as well, right? Is that one in standard form already? Yeah, it's got the biggest power first and then the lowest power second. GCF.
Negative x to the what? 2 exponent.
Yep. This one's got 2 to give away. This one has 2 to give away. And then what'd you say? You said negative 2, right? Has to be a negative because I have to make the leading term positive. Leading term positive. So right now the leading term is negative 2. I don't want it to be negative 2. I want it to be positive. So really you're just dividing by negative 1x squared. You can put the negative 1 if you want. You don't have to. Okay. So negative 1 divided by negative 2 makes positive 2. How many x's am I left with? Good. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 is what? Positive 3. No more x's, right? I took them all away. Is this difference of squares that I have right here? This is not difference of squares because there's no squared. First of all, there's no squared here. 3 doesn't work. 2 doesn't work. And it's positive. So there's a whole mess of reasons why it's not difference of squares. Done. Okay. Okay, so I want you to try number 6 on your own. Try that one on your own. We're going to go over it in 3 or 4 minutes. I want you to do, everyone to do it, like I told my last 2 classes. Try it, follow the steps. If you get stuck, try it. If you get stuck again, then wait for me. But at least try it. Don't wait for me to do it because that's not how we learn. We learn by doing. Okay, so if you're done, look up here. If you're still working, keep working. But I'm almost down. I'm down to step 6 now. It was a trinomial, so I followed the trinomial steps. At the very beginning, I saw, hey, this is out of order. This x to the 5th needs to be in front. This x to the negative 24x needs to be at the end. So I kept their signs. And then once I did that, I saw, hey, they all have a power of x I can take away. That was my GCF here. And then I go a times c makes negative 24. Add up to be b, 6 and negative 4. Moved everything back, and that's where I stopped. Don't need to do bottoms up. 1 second. Okay. Why is it not connected? All right. So now, difference of squares. Difference of squares. Are any of these guys difference of squares? This guy right here. Yep. So this part repeats, just comes down, and what is this going to be? X plus 2 and x minus 2. Okay, done. All right. Okay, since we got some time, I'm going to give you a problem to do all on your own. Okay, so I'm going to pass some tape around, tape it in your notes, right behind the tape, or right behind the where you tape it in. We're going to do one more problem, one more practice problem. Whatever page everyone else is taping it in. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Negative 5x cubed plus 6x minus x to the 5th. So your directions are to factor completely. Wesley, you already finished this problem? I'm going to do it up here. I'm not going to check 30 papers. This is you're checking on your own. Because if I were to check it, then it'd be a quiz. If you check it, it's not. You're just checking on your own. That's what I'm doing right now with the test. I'm checking everyone's paper. That's why it takes me a while. So get as far as you can. Do it now so that, because if you do it now, it's not a quiz. But if you're not doing it right now, if I walk around and I don't see anything, then I'm going to be like, then that's telling Mr. Flores, it's way too easy to do it. I'm not going to waste my time. Okay, we'll do a quiz tomorrow. Okay? Then do it. Then be working on the problem on you. No, you're right. That's right.
Is this right?
Because the leading term has to be positive, right?
Yeah. I want to ask.
He had a question. So I'm not checking it. He had a question.
No.
No, he didn't. He didn't point at the answer. He pointed at one of the steps. Mm-hmm. Yes.
For that part, would I divide by negative?
Yes. Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah. If you have a question, I can answer it. If you're asking me, is it right? Well, I'm going to do it. I don't know if it's right, but I can tell you if your steps are right or not. Question?
Oh
no. No? Good. Yeah, we'll go over it in about 1 minute. We'll go over this question in about 1 minute. And then you'll figure it out if you did it right or wrong. Just try your best. That's all I'm asking right now. Okay. Alrighty. So if we're going to do this problem, which a lot of you get, I was walking around looking at some of your steps. First thing we got to do is it's a trinomial. So we follow those steps to the right. Those steps over there to the right. So I got to move this guy to the front here and shift everything else down. So it's going to look like this. -5 x to the 5th. Okay, that's the first step. And then the second step is GCF. Okay, a lot of you were like, okay, so that's x, which you're right. And then some of you were like, saw this step here, right? Along with the GCF, you have to make the leading term positive. Has to be the leading term positive. Right now, it's not. It's negative. So how do we change that? We just divide by negative. Or -1. You can put a -1 if you want, or just negative. Okay, so that moves to the front. So now I take away a power and make it positive. Take away a power and make it positive. And then this guy right here is going to change to a negative and take away a power. Now I'm focused on here. This is where I'm focused on now. That's where I'm going to do my next step. My next step says ABC. A, B, C. Okay. A is 1, B is 5, C is -6. Alrighty. So then I figure out the numbers that multiply to be -6 and add to be 5. What are those numbers? 1 and -1? -1 and +6? All right. Okay. Move back over here, put those numbers in there. X squared -1, x squared +6. Okay. Bottoms up, but I'm just dividing by 1, so it doesn't change anything. Last step. Are any of these two guys, this guy here or this guy here, difference of squares? The first one, this guy right here, is difference of squares. So that's going to become x plus 1 and x minus 1. Rewrite everything else. Right? So you need all of that stuff there to make sure you get it right. I had one student in my second period. He had that answer, except he didn't have this. He had this part right here. And he's like, is that the right answer? I got it right, didn't I? And I'm like, no, you're close, but you're not right. Right? It's close. It is close, but it's not right. Because, and then when I put it in here, he's like, oh, that's nothing. Well, I'm like, well, it depends on what you think nothing is. It's like someone, it's like my last name, Flores. Some people, not a lot of people, spell it with a Z. Some people spell it with a Z at the end. Okay? And sometimes when they're writing down, like I go to some doctor's office or when I go wherever, they say Flores with a Z. It's close, right? But it's not my name. Yeah, it's not my name, right? It's same thing with you guys, right? There's different ways you spell it, and you don't like it when they don't spell it right or they don't say it right, right? It's the same thing here. It's close, but it's not what it needs to be, right? Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so we're done with the notes. I want to show you a couple things here that you're going to see tomorrow. But you don't need to write this down. So you can back up, you can put your things away, and then focus back up here. I want to show you a couple things. Okay, so when you're ready, just eyes up here. All you need is your eyes up here. That's all you need. Don't need to write this down. Don't need anything. So here we go. I have a question like this. Okay, so if you have something like this, right? X squared minus 25. Is that difference of squares? What would it be? It would be plus 5 and x minus 5, right? Okay. What about this one here? Negative 25 plus, oops. Plus. Is that difference of squares? Couldn't I flip them around? Yeah, right? They're not in standard form. So you could do it like this, right? minus 25. And then it's difference of squares, right? Okay, so let me show you like this. What was the one I was saying? Oh, here we go. How about this? 25 minus x squared. So if you're not looking up here, this is way too easy, Mr. Flores. Please give us a quiz tomorrow. I'm already giving my period 2 a quiz because I just need your focus up here. So if you're focused up here, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who weren't focused up here. So this one, if I switch them, right? Because switch them, you'd be negative and then a positive 25, right? Still not good, right? Okay. So yeah, so those of you that said I can't do anything, you didn't do step 2. What was step 2? I think I heard it over here. What was step 2? Divide. Yeah, the leading term has to be positive, right? Divide by negative 1. So then I do that. That's what I wanted, right? So I have the negative 1 in front, and then I have this, right? Right? Okay, because you'll see it, you could see it like that too. All right, so I just wanted to show you that. All righty. Okay, so tomorrow we'll do some practice with that. We'll have more time to do some practice.